Welcome to episode 3 of my StateTree tutorial. In this episode, we'll be making a new state and making the enemy roam around passively in an idle state where he kind of gives the player some breathing space. So let's get started. Open up the StateTree. This is where we left off last time. First things first is we're going to add another state under select behavior. Add state, add child state, and we're going to call this Strafing state. Right click this, add state, add child state. Find strafe location. This is where we're going to start. We need to find the location where our enemy is going to strafe to. Now, you could use a random location inside of an area. I personally don't like that. I like that the enemy backs off, forcefully creating some breathing room. What we are going to do is we're going to add task, and we're going to say run environment query. Now, environment query, or an EQS, is something very handy when it comes to AI and making them move to specific locations and giving them smart decisions. It is a bit of a complicated system, and I will not go into this in depth. There's plenty of tutorials out there. I will, however, show you a little bit how to play around with it and how to make this one, of course. Let's get started. Let's go back into a folder and right-click and just type environment, and then you'll get environment query. And we're going to call this EQS underscore strafe. And then open this up. Now, we're going to come here from the root, and then when you drag off of this, you'll see a bunch of generators. These are shapes of locations that you can generate around certain points to create possible walking positions for your enemy. Let's say for now we create a circle, and then let's try to visualize this real quick. So save this, go back into your folder, and then right-click, blueprint class, and then just type EQS. And then an EQS testing pawn is what we want. Select that. I'm just going to call this EQS underscore testing pawn. And then we're going to just put that in our level. Place it nice and on the floor. And then we're going to open this up. And then just type EQS on the right again. And select the one we just made, EQS strafe. Compile, save. We can close this for now. And now you'll see that this creates a circle around this point of possible locations, and you can play with this. So let me quickly put this on the side so we can see this in real time. Imagine I make the circle smaller or bigger. I can make the space between all the points bigger or smaller depending on how precise you want it to be. Maybe we don't want a circle at all and we say we want a donut, and you can see again inner ring, outer ring. You can play around with all of this. To show this off a little bit, we're going to use a cone, but we're going to pretty much create a custom shape using this cone. We're going to set our cone degrees to 360 degrees. We're going to set the angle step between them to 30. We're going to set the range to about 500. For now, we're going to leave it at this. So, okay, let me make this a little bit bigger. Now, the next step is to actually make it deliberate. So we're going to right-click to add tests. And these will filter or score all these points depending on the tests that I give them. And then it will choose the best possible position for my AI to walk to. So first off, we're going to say a path finding one. And it will say path exists from querier, discard unreachable. We're just going to leave this default. This just means that if there's a point that is impossible to reach for our AI, for example, up there, it will just not say you can go there because it can't. And this is just a nice little safety feature to always put in there. The next one we're going to put in there is pathfinding once again. And then we're going to click on it. And instead of path of exist, we're going to say path cost. This just means how expensive it is or how long it takes for the AI to walk to that point. So for example, if there's a point right up here on the high ping, but we're standing low here, it's technically quite close. But the path itself is quite expensive to walk. So we are going to set this to a minimum of 250, and this just discards all the places close to me. I don't want to set 1 step or 2 steps. No, I want to go a little bit further. Now we're going to put it back on a range, and we're going to say our maximum, we can leave it on 1,000 for now. So for example, if we then put our AI in this corner here, you'll see that these points up here, they're quite close, but they're expensive because it takes me a while to run all the way around, and they get filtered out because of this. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a dot test. So at the top here, dot. Now, dot is very complicated to explain, and I'm not going to go into that. So let's set this up properly. We're going to say filter only, We're going to say most rotation, that's fine. Line A and B, they can leave to what they were. We're going to say test mode 2D. And then here, we're going to say maximum of minus 0.4. And then you'll see that a couple get filtered in. And now if we get closer to this, you see this blue arrow over here. That's the direction our current actor is facing. So the green dots now are behind him. And every time I rotate him, so now he's looking to the left, you'll see that again, they get generated behind him. And this just means that our AI will always kind of either go diagonally or straight backwards. And that's what we wanted to do. Now we have all of these viable locations, but as you can see, they're all scored the same. They're all scored for 2. Path exists, doesn't have to score. This is just a filter, so we can set this to filter only. Same for path cost. This can just be a filter only. And then this is also filter only. So now we need something to score these values with, right? Now all this just say 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a test, a distance test. And this is going to be a maximum of 750. And then in the bottom here, we have a scoring factor. So now it says here below it in the EQS, prefer greater. And if I set this to inverse linear, you'll see prefer lesser. So now I want the points closer to me. We do want the ones further away, so we're going to leave it on linear. And now it will always prioritize the ones furthest away from me. We can save this. We can close this. And then we're going to go back into our state tree, find strafe location. In the query template, we're going to set it to our EQS strafe, the one we just created. And all of these viable locations that are getting scored, they are a result of this EQS. And you can see at the top here, it wants us to bind this to something. So we are going to make a parameter for this. So back in our parameters on the left, we are going to write a new one, rename. This is our strafe location. And this is going to be of type vector. And then in the results back here, we go parameters, strafe location. A really important thing that StateTree sets up wrong is the query owner is linked to the AI controller. But that's not true. We don't want our AI controller to be the owner of this. We want our AI to be the owner of this. So we're going to link this to actor. So now we have an EQS with a result, but now we need to use this result. So click strafing state, add child state, and we're going to say move to location. And we're just going to add a task, which is a move to, and our location is the strafe location. The rest you can just leave, and just like that, we have it. Now we need to set up our transitions. So on state completed, we go to move to location. And then after we've moved, we go back to the root. To real quick test this out a little bit more directly, we're going to disable all the other tasks by right-clicking them and clicking state enabled to untick it. And now if we go into our state tree, you'll see that he runs to points behind him. But this looks a bit weird, doesn't it? That's because there's 2 things. One, he's full on sprinting, which is something we don't want. And he's also not looking at me. And because he's not looking at me, the locations behind him are not actually the ones away from me. It can also be towards me. So let's fix this. So on the move to location, we're going to add some more tasks. We're going to add, first off, a face towards actor. Let's close that real quick. Face towards actor, with the actor being the target player character. And we also want to add another task, which is a set character speed. And we're going to set this to about 125 for now. And you'll see that if we run it now, he's looking at me and he's kind of strafing backwards. And then when he finds his location, and he gets there, he'll find another one and another one. And if I go on this side of him, he will walk away from me again. So now it works a little bit more like we would want it to. Something that's good to know with state trees and EQS is that it actually gives you a lot of freedom. EQSs are these queries and they can fail. So for example, if I make him face away from the wall and then put him close in like a corner, let me quickly do it properly. There you go. You can have it to the point where there's no viable outcome. And in this case, the EQS fails. I never set it to the location, and this will just run back to 0, 0, 0. To prevent this, in our find strafe location, on transition, we can actually make 2 of them. We can set up on succeeded and on failed. And if we succeed, we want to move there. And if we don't, we want to just go back to the root and make sure we reset the tree so that we don't get stuck in this. To finish it up, let's add another theme for it. Let's go for a nice bright pink. Let's put that on all of these. And then call it Strafing. Now, with these 4 states enabled, you'll see that when we play, he always just moves to me, he punches, he moves to me, punches, waits. Right? He goes through this same loop. And that's because he moves, he goes to attack state goes wait, and wait goes to root. It never goes far down enough to actually hit the strafing. Another thing that StateTree gives you is on the right, when selecting a parent state, you can have a selection behavior, and there's a lot of options here. And the one we want to use here is the try select children at random. What this does is, well, as you might expect, it's going to select one of these 4 states at random, but as you realize, we set the character speed here and then never again. In states like move and attack state, you want to add this set character speed again to the desired speed. So let's do that for now. Add new task, set character speed, back to 600, attack state, add task, set character speed, back to 600. So now if we play again, you'll see that if he gets to strafe, right here, he's slow. And then the second his strafing finishes, he'll be fast again, he'll rush at me. It's these small little things in StateTree that you really need to keep track of. Everything is under your control. So that's it for this episode. In this episode, we created the 4th state, let up a little bit more of the behavior. And now for the next episode, we're going to go into actually finishing up these behaviors to really make it feel more alive.